When I was younger, I wanted to live forever, hoping that maybe in my lifetime there would be some new technology which would allow me to escape the inevitable. I just couldn't wrap my head around it as a kid. But I don't want to live forever anymore. Life would lose its meaning if it wasn't finite. Death is the great equalizer. No matter how rich you are or how ambitious your plans are, you're on the clock. Time is the one currency that's equal for all of us. There's a million ways to spend it and a million ways to waste it. That's the real tragedy, to waste your allotment of time. But what does it mean to spend time wisely? Is it enough to simply be happy and enjoy the few moments we have before it's all gone? To drink beer, as Charles Bukowski would say, and live our lives so well that death will tremble to take us? I've never liked the word happiness. It's a fleeting feeling, not an end goal. When we check out, we don't get to keep any of what we have. Not our possessions, our happiness, or our pain. What matters is what we leave behind. But what if death didn't have to take us at all? Charles Bukowski is dead, but he's not really dead. His immortal words allow him to live on after death as a legend. In other words, he achieved greatness. And perhaps it's greatness, not happiness, that's our best shot at defeating the Grim Reaper. But why? Why can't we just accept our natural limitations? Maybe the desire for greatness is our ego's last-ditch effort to escape death. Greatness almost seems pathetic when you put it that way. We admire the greats not for the size of their egos, but for how well they've guided us on our journey, collectively and individually. What have you contributed to others? Do you deserve to be remembered like the greats? Probably not. But then again, neither did the greats before they were great, and they didn't become great by accident. When you aim for something higher, you have to try in order to achieve, and you have to believe in order to try. If you haven't achieved anything yet, that belief is a leap of faith. There's no evidence to back it up. You have to fake it until you make it. A classic Hollywood actor once said, "Everybody wants to be Cary Grant. Even I want to be Cary Grant. I pretended to be somebody I wanted to be until I finally became that person, or he became me, or we met at some point." This quote captures the essence of destiny as I see it. When you're following your destiny, you're becoming the person you're meant to be. Even if one has a higher calling, it can pass them by if they're not humble enough to shut up and listen. It's not something you can just decide. No one understands their destiny without going through trials and tribulations first. If you can dream and err and have the courage to face reality, your destiny becomes clearer as you approach it. Like a North Star, it's something that exists within us and beyond, guiding us from above. We do have control over our decision to have faith in that destiny, which is something that we partially create and partially negotiate with the gods. Goethe said, "Anything you can do, or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it." But this alone won't carry you to the heights. The problem with chasing greatness for its own sake is that it will only get you so far. A mission solely to glorify your own ego won't be impactful because it won't touch anyone else. When you put yourself on a pedestal, it will be plain to see that you're hollow and transparent. It's better to realize this before and reorient yourself towards something deep and transcendent, rising naturally from a solid foundation. A legacy built for its own sake will crumble and decay like a statue in the desert, forgotten by the sands of time. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed." And on the pedestal these words appear, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains, round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. That's Ozymandias by Percy Shelley. Frank Underwood from House of Cards has an insatiable desire for greatness that drives him to the very pinnacle of power. He simply wants it more, and as a consequence he's willing to go one step farther than anyone else to achieve power. But when he finally makes it to the Oval Office and feels the sheer power coursing through his veins, it's still not enough. Frank soon discovers that there are people who are even more powerful than the President of the United States, so he sets his sights on a higher goal, which he didn't even realize existed. When Underwood sets his sights on something, he's extremely effective. He would have made an extraordinary president, but he never had vision to lead because that was never actually his intention. He simply wanted to enlarge his greatness, we could say, on a superficial level, at all costs. If you judge it by realistic standards, his presidency was a joke. He gradually becomes more isolated as he pulls ridiculous policies out of his ass and runs around putting out one fire after another. The game of chess he played to get to the top devolves into a game of whack-a-mole once he's actually there. In the end, Frank Underwood's pursuit of greatness didn't accomplish much of anything for himself or others. It was a path of destruction that disgraced the nation and revealed the hollowness of his own soul. Contrast Underwood's mentality with a figure like Napoleon, who said that it's better to abandon oneself to destiny. Napoleon had plenty of ego, but he acknowledged that he was subservient to his destiny, which was more important than himself. Napoleon seized fortune, as well as exercising his own efforts, skills, and charisma to guide France through one of the most pivotal stages in world history following the French Revolution. Despite this, he was largely scorned and misunderstood during his lifetime, ultimately dying in exile. "Destiny urges me to a goal of which I am ignorant," Napoleon said. "Until that goal is attained, I am invulnerable, unassailable. When destiny has accomplished her purpose in me, a fly may suffice to destroy me." Great people have egos like anyone else, but they're not selfish. They overflow and use themselves up, even at their own expense. Although becoming great sounds nice on paper, many people aren't prepared to make the sacrifices involved with it. It sounds very cliché, but I'm not just talking about brute force effort. It's more than that. Like Napoleon said, you have to abandon yourself to destiny. Perhaps this might mean being humiliated and exiled and never receiving the validation you thought you deserved during your lifetime. That may not be likely if you make true sacrifices, but there's no telling where your destiny could lead. Look at Jesus Christ himself. He faced the worst kind of humiliation, only to be literally worshipped after death. Perhaps it actually means knocking yourself down a peg in order to rise on a deeper level. If one's desire for greatness comes purely from the ego, that's probably not what they had in mind. Carl Jung might say that we should aim to be whole rather than great. If we become our true selves, greatness might come as a byproduct of that. But as far as we aim to rise, we must also descend into the underworld. Nobody can fall so low unless he has a great depth. If such a thing could happen to a man, it challenges his best and highest on the other side. That is to say, this depth corresponds to a potential height, and the blackest darkness to a hidden light. Only after we've descended into the underworld, contended with dragons, and faced the shadows, can we return to the ordinary world on a higher plane. Bring back the treasure, share it with others, and be rewarded as a hero for our special knowledge.